Someone left a link to this story on one of my recent videos, and I wanted to talk about it today. I want to talk about disfigurements. Often when people talk about how dangerous dogs are, they bring up the fact that dogs are killing 20 to 50 people in the United States every year. These numbers might seem small to some people, and these people are neglecting the fact that many people are getting disfigured by dogs every year. I made an error on my channel, and I want to apologize for this. I realized it was faulty logic. When I saw statistics from 2015 which state that 28,000 reconstructive surgeries were performed in the United States, at least 28,000. Back in 2015, I deduced from this that 77 people minimum were undergoing reconstructive surgery every day in the United States due to dog attacks. Now, I realize that is an error because people will often undergo more than one reconstructive surgery for the same injury. So how many of those surgeries were on the same person? I don't know. I don't know what the true number is, but I do know that a lot of people are getting disfigured. And I think it's important to think very carefully about what that means. And that's why I want to make this video. I'm going to talk to you about Ryder Wells. I'm going to read this article to you. I'll share it with you in the description as well. I want Ryder to know, if he's watching this video, that I do not want him or anyone to think that I am using his story as a way to get likes or subscribers or any sort of popularity. That is not my goal. I am talking about you, Ryder, because I want to prevent this from happening to other people. I want others to know about you so that they will feel a drive or a desire to protect children from having to go through what you went through and are going through and will continue to go through for the rest of your life. And that's what we have to realize, is that we can look at these numbers, whatever the true number is, of disfigurements per year, and think, oh, well, it's over and done with once the wounds heal. You have to understand that these people are left with life-altering disfigurements. So, I'm just going to read this to you. The mother of a 5-year-old boy has revealed how he is taunted by strangers due to a disfigurement caused when 2 Rottweilers attacked him. Ryder Wells was attacked by the 2 45-kilogram Rottweilers when he was just 21 months old and was left permanently disfigured after 50 surgeries to reconstruct his face. The traumatized tot lost the whole of his right cheek, the bottom of his eyelid, 75% of his lip, his teeth were crushed, and he suffered a broken arm and a puncture in his right lung. Speaking on Thursday, his distraught mum, Brittany, who's 31 years old, told how strangers in the street have made nasty comments about the youngster, and he's even been dubbed a monster in the playground. The teaching assistant said, quote, "In the beginning it was horrible because even adults would stare. For the first year, he had no face on one side because he had 2 unsuccessful skin grafts. When we go to the park, there is a child who points and screams 'monster' at him before running away. Out shopping the other day, someone shouted 'ooh' at him. It's hard, and it breaks my heart as a parent that after everything he's been through, people aren't always nice over something he can't help. But he is such a fighter, he doesn't let anything hold him back." Ryder was attacked by a family friend's Rottweilers back in 2015 and spent 14 hours in surgery after he was airlifted to hospital. Medics warned Brittany to prepare for the worst, but despite doctors' expectations, Ryder defied the odds, learning to eat and drink, attending preschool and kindergarten. The mum of 2 of Granite Falls, North Carolina, said, quote, "It happened so quickly. We were visiting friends, and they had a dog lap about the size of the dogs. I'm not really sure what that means. They had a dog lap about the size of the dogs? Not sure. We were eating breakfast, and Ryder was back and forth to his toys and back for bacon. Then he disappeared. I looked out of the window, and he was face down in the garden. He had pajamas on, and they'd been completely ripped off, so he just had a sleeve on. When we picked him up and rolled him, his face was just gone. He'd been around the dogs before, and they'd been fine, so I don't know what happened. The doctors said they would do what they could, but we weren't expecting him to make it. They said it's a miracle that he's still here, because he was so small and the injuries were so severe. He had to have a tracheostomy because of the punctured lung, and they thought that the dogs had bitten so far into his skull that he would be paralyzed. Ryder is expected to have even more surgeries until he fully matures, including nose reconstruction and dental work to replace his crushed teeth. Brittany is speaking out to raise awareness about the effects bullying can have on someone with a facial disfigurement, as Ryder is due to start first grade in September. She said, "He knows that people are talking about him, but he doesn't say much. He wears glasses and a cap, and sometimes he'll hang his head to hide his face. I try to deal with it in a better manner so it doesn't affect him so much. But I just tell him every day that he's beautiful. Different is beautiful, and it's okay to be different. I just reassure him as much as I can, but I am absolutely terrified about when he goes to school. There are always going to be a couple of kids who aren't kind." When he started kindergarten, the kids learned about Ryder before they met him, so they wouldn't be as shocked. You always want your kid to be accepted and to fit in. Just because he's different, it doesn't make him less of a person. The 2 dogs were taken away by animal control and put down the same day. Brittany said, "He'll never look the same, and we face a lot of obstacles. The doctors said he would never be able to eat normally. He only has 8 teeth now, but he eats everything. He refused a puree diet and the special cup they gave him, and learned to drink on his own. He's really adapted. He has a great group of friends, and people in the town know him now, so that boosts his confidence. He's been amazing how he's adapted after what he's been through. The family is now fundraising for Ryder's plastic surgery." This story reminds me very much of the Bridger Walker story. I recently uploaded a video about him, that young boy who's being called a hero because he put himself in front of his sister when a dog was charging at her, a German Shepherd mix, and he took the injuries instead. He is a hero, but why are people not outraged, and why are they not talking about the fact that we allow the presence of fanged, bloodthirsty, unpredictable predators in our society? Now, after I uploaded that video, people were asking me why I focus on the negative. Well, it's because if we don't talk about it, if we don't raise awareness about the true nature of dogs, and if we don't ban dog ownership, it's just going to keep happening over and over and over again. These attacks are 100% preventable. I am tired of children having their faces ripped off. Why aren't you? "Oh, you must have been attacked as a child." No, I have not had a traumatic experience with a dog. Why do you need to have a negative experience with a dog in order to feel empathy for others? Where is your empathy? What is wrong with you? I think it's great that this little boy's mother is raising awareness about bullying, and we should all be doing our part to end bullying. It is awful. But we need to be addressing the obvious fact that those Rottweilers should not have been in that home. It doesn't matter how you raise the dog. This story proves it. And this is just one story. Go look through the hundreds or thousands of reports on websites such as dogsbite.org or the National Pitbull Victim Awareness website. Go to Down with Dogs, A Menace to Society on Facebook, which is a wonderful page that uploads stories of dog attacks. Most of the dogs attacking were great family dogs for many years and never showed any aggression. Somehow these dog-worshipping lunatics get away with spreading misinformation. Those Rottweilers should not have been in that home, just like that German Shepherd mix should not have been in the community. If we had no dogs in the community, then these sorts of things would not be happening. Why do we tolerate the presence of these predators in our communities? This is the question we need to ask. People are calling these sorts of events accidents. It's as if they are unavoidable. Like, I was thinking about this before I was going to make this video. I thought, okay, well, what are some other things that might result in similar sorts of facial disfigurements? I can't really come up with anything that, might do this to someone's face. And a car accident, perhaps? If, this was the result of a car accident, we'd be asking, well, was the child strapped in to a car seat? If yes, did the car seat malfunction? If the car seat malfunctioned, then we would have an immediate recall on that car seat. That brand of car seat would be taken off the market immediately. Even if this happened to just one child, we would step up as a society to protect children, to prevent this from happening again. We would do everything in our power to reduce risk. We might not be able to eliminate risk because we live in a society where a lot of people need to drive. That's just the nature of the world we live in today. We need to get around. A lot of us need to drive. So you can't ban cars. That would be ridiculous because we need cars. And because driving is a dangerous activity, we have all sorts of laws in place regarding driving. You need a license. You have to be a certain age to operate a car. We have all these laws. And when it comes to dogs, there are no laws. Anybody can get a dog. Anybody can lay their child on top of the dog. There's no way to regulate how people train their dogs or raise their dogs. People always say it's all in how you raise them. That is not true because evidence shows well-trained dogs raised in loving homes are attacking people every single day after being the quote-unquote best dog for 6 years, 8 years, 10 years. It's not about the owner. It has nothing to do with how the dog is raised because you can't train a predator to not behave like a predator. You can't train that out of it. You can't love or train predatory instincts out of dogs. Dogs are dogs. It has nothing to do with how they're raised. If your dog hasn't attacked anyone yet, you were lucky. That's it. That's all. It is Russian roulette. If you own a dog, you are playing Russian roulette with the lives of everyone in your community. And that in itself is hugely irresponsible. There is no such thing as a responsible dog owner. Because the very act of owning a fanged, bloodthirsty, unpredictable predator that is without a conscience, that has no remorse, it has nothing to do with how you raise a dog. They compare dogs to humans. Watch my video about liberation politics. They're comparing dogs to children because children's psyches are hugely dependent on how they were raised. A person, they grow up to be a criminal or whatever. It has to do with their upbringing. Only about 3% of humans have no conscience. They're called sociopaths. All dogs lack a conscience. Not just 3% of the dog population, all dogs lack a conscience. Most humans have a conscience. Most humans can discern between right and wrong, good and bad, moral, immoral. Dogs cannot. All dogs lack this ability. all dogs lack the ability to feel guilt and remorse. So, comparing the ownership of dogs to driving a car, which is something these dog nuts do all the time. Will people get disfigured in cars? What are you going to do? Ban driving? No, but we're going to set up some strict regulations about it, and we have done that. And we need to drive. We do not need to own dogs. I could just talk about this I've made videos about service dogs. Service dogs comprise 0.5% of the dog population. That is a tiny fraction. Among those 0.5% of dogs that are actually doing jobs, most of those jobs can be done better and more safely by humans or electronic devices. Electronic devices that can alert to hypoglycemic, low blood sugar or seizures, right? Seeing eye dogs, it is generally recognized that a white cane can do the same job just as well. I provided links to these articles in my videos about service animals. And as I discussed in a number of videos, like my video called Dogs Are Not Heroes or Man's Worst Fiend, police dogs, which everyone would agree are very, very well trained, right? They are attacking, biting innocent people at an alarming rate. So, all these jobs that dogs do, we need to find alternatives. In most cases, alternatives already exist. Where there are no alternatives yet, scientists need to be working around the clock to develop alternatives, and we need to be pushing them to do this. But when it comes to, dogs for psychiatric problems, emotional support, human beings make the best therapy or emotional support animals because the relationship you have with those animals actually goes two ways. It is a real relationship. They can understand you. Humans hear you. They can understand your language. They can empathize. They can really, truly feel for you because they understand. Anyways, getting back to these so-called accidents, bee stings, cataclysmic storms, they bring up all kinds of crazy shit that do more damage to humans than dogs do. You can't ban bees from society, okay? You can't ban storms from society, but you can ban dogs. And I'm thinking about my cousin who has severe burns. She's scarred for life because when she was a young child, she grabbed a pot of boiling water on the stove and the water went down her body. So she's like severely scarred, disfigured. But what are you going to do? You can't ban cooking. We all need to eat. People go on and on about dogs as if we need them, as if they can't imagine a society without them. And this is going to be the subject of my next video that I'm working on. And I already made a video about this, but I need to expand upon this idea and really drive it home. We do not need dogs. Your children don't need dogs to learn empathy or responsibility. They don't need dogs at all for any reason. And there are so many advantages to being dog-free. We need to drive. We can't avoid bees. We can't avoid storms. We need to cook. Fireworks, that's debatable. Fireworks could result in these sorts of facial disfigurements. But we have laws in place that prohibit the sale of fireworks to minors. You have to be an adult to purchase fireworks. And children are not allowed to set them off. But we have no laws in place that prevent us from laying an infant on top of a predator. It's madness. And why is nobody talking about this? Why am I called a Karen when I bring this up? People who attack me are no different from smokers in the 1950s who get offended when their lifestyle is called into question. These dog nuts have a disgusting habit. This habit of owning dogs is just as disgusting as smoking. It's putting the entire public in danger. You know, secondhand smoke is a real health risk. Having dogs in the community is a health risk. If you own a dog, you're playing Russian roulette with the lives of everyone in the community, like I said. And it should not be tolerated. Everyone thinks they're a great dog owner. My dog would never do that. This is so stupid, because almost every time a dog attacks and disfigures someone, the owner says, I can't believe my dog did that. My dog has never done that before. Oh my God. And they're shocked and they can't believe it. Same story over and over and over and over and over again. And still, we are so stupid that we believe these idiots when they insist it's all in how you raise them. They have no evidence, no proof to back up this ridiculous claim. Anyways, we have to remember that facial disfigurements, and dogs usually go for the face. These sorts of injuries are not minor. How do I make people care about something when they don't care? There are some people out there who are going to laugh at this video. They hate kids. They genuinely hate kids, and they're going to be glad this happened to this child. They're going to say he deserved it. Or they're going to blame the parents. Why were the parents not watching their kid? Are you crazy? Do you really believe that any parent has the ability to keep their eyes glued on their child every second of every day? What world are you living in? You're nuts. I mean, look, when I was growing up, not to say that this was ideal, but I used to leave the house in the morning on my bike and not come back until supper time. My parents had no clue where I was. We had freedom. Now, I'm not saying things should be as risky as that, but children should not have to be supervised every second. It's ridiculous that people have this expectation of parents. The child went out into the yard. What, are children not allowed to play in the backyard any longer? What kind of world are we living in that a child can't play in the backyard without the parent standing there watching them constantly, every single second, their eyes glued on their child? You're crazy. Also, in many cases, the parents were present. They were watching their child when a dog suddenly attacked a child unprovoked. Watching your child does not necessarily mean that the child is not going to get attacked by the predator. But watching your child every second of every minute of every hour? Not only is that impossible, we should not be striving for such a ridiculous existence. Children should be able to play freely, unsupervised for a few minutes now and then. I mean, especially if you have a fenced yard. That's what a fenced yard is for, so the child can go outside and get some fresh air while you're doing laundry or dishes or preparing supper or whatever. Why else do you have a fenced yard? Well, I'll tell you the reason people have a fenced yard. It's to keep their shit-eating shit machines in and give them a place to shit and piss and bark their heads off all day and drive the neighbors crazy. I just don't know why we're not even having the conversation about banning dog ownership. I feel sick when I imagine this happening to one of my children. I don't know what I would do. It is my worst nightmare. It is what spurred me to create this channel. My fear that this could happen to my child. That I would have to watch my child suffer the way this poor child is suffering. And he's going to suffer for the rest of his life. This will never be over for him. And all because of one family's selfish decision to engage in a disgusting, dirty habit, which is dog ownership. We don't need dogs. This does not have to happen. We can prevent these disfigurements, and we will. In the future, people are going to look back on today, on this disgusting habit most people have of owning dogs, with the same sort of revulsion we feel when we look back and realize that doctors used to smoke. In their offices, in medical buildings, they used to be smoking. Now, people are bringing their dogs into medical buildings. It's going to be the same in the future. People are going to look back in disbelief, and they're going to marvel, wonder at the ignorance and the craziness. How could people have done this? See my video called Rough and Puff? It's only a question of time. Children deserve better. People deserve better. This should not be happening. The future is dog-free.